Ladies and gentlemen, cleansing the atmosphere attracts abundance. Imagine your life as a house, every corner filled not only with things, but with energies, feelings, beliefs, whispers of the past, and words that have been spoken over you. If that house is cluttered with fear, doubt, negativity, regret, and bitterness, no matter how beautiful the exterior looks, the hidden weight will stunt blessings from dwelling there. The atmosphere inside you, in your mind, your heart, your spirit must be cleansed if you expect abundance to settle in. When we speak of cleansing, we're not simply talking about external cleansers, rituals, or superficial efforts. True cleansing digs deep. It uproots the seeds of insecurity, the roots of disbelief, the chains of old hurts that whisper lies. You're not worthy. You'll never have enough. This struggle defines your life. These deep-rooted lies become like thick dirt in the foundation of your spiritual house. Unless you remove them, even the best-laid plans for success and prosperity cannot stand firm. You must sweep them out intentionally with relentless resolve, like a devoted gardener removing weeds before planting new seeds. As you remove weeds, the soil becomes fertile. As you sweep out negative roots and old emotional debris, your spirit becomes receptive to growth. When the atmosphere is cleared, seeds of abundance, opportunity, favor, provision find fertile ground to germinate. But how do we cleanse that inner atmosphere? It starts with honesty, admitting where you've carried pain, fear, bitterness, envy, or resentment. Maybe you've believed that lack, that limitation, that poverty is your portion. Maybe you've tolerated thoughts that I don't deserve more, or I can't change. But until you shine the light of truth on those areas, they remain hidden and powerful, draining your energy and blocking potential growth. Then plant the truth. Speak firmly. I am a child of the King. I am worthy of blessings. I was born for increase. Let those words ring over every corner of your heart. Replace defeatist memories with faith-filled declarations. Overwrite old curses with fresh promises. As you do so, darkness begins to lift, not because of a mantra, but because of inner work, internal alignment, spiritual integrity. Next, guard the atmosphere. Often we drive out negativity only to let it creep back in. The world, people, conversations, media, even friends can reintroduce fear, doubt, complaint, negativity. So you must protect what you've cleansed. Be vigilant about what you allow into your heart. The voices you listen to, the thoughts you entertain, the words you speak over yourself. Build a protective boundary. Guard the doors of your mind and soul. When you do, the clean environment remains safe from contamination. Once you have cleansed and guarded your atmosphere, your spirit becomes a magnet for abundance. The universe or divine provision doesn't find a dense, polluted city. It seeks fertile soil. When your inner world is clear, space is created for good things to come. Prosperity doesn't force its way in. It flows smoothly into empty, ready places. In cleansing, there is also release. Releasing what holds you back, old regrets, unforgiveness, regret. Bitterness liberates energy that was being tied up in pain and defense. That energy becomes creative force. It becomes vision. It becomes expectation. When you release the old, you make space for new blessings, new opportunities, new relationships, new breakthroughs. As the walls of your inner house become purified, unseen corridors open that lead to blessings which once seemed unreachable. Doors behind them swing open. Opportunities you never imagined appear, not because of magic, but because a cleansed vessel becomes worthy of carrying what is coming. You are not just preparing for wealth, you are preparing to receive it in a way that sustains, that endures, that expands you in every dimension. Let this cleansing become ongoing, not a one-time sweep. As seasons change in your mind, heart, spirit, negativity can sneak back in. So renew the cleansing regularly. Examine your thoughts, check your feelings, measure your words. Keep the house spotless. Keep the soil fertile. Keep your heart ready. Fear must be removed for wealth to flow. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that limits human potential, not because it carries true power, but because it convinces the mind to shrink, retreat, and surrender possibility long before a battle is ever fought. Fear creates invisible walls around your destiny. It narrows your vision, tightens your decisions, and suffocates the courage required to step into the opportunities that lead to abundance. You may have the talent, the ideas, the resources, and even the divine favor for wealth. But as long as fear sits at the door of your heart, prosperity remains outside, knocking but never entering. Fear whispers lies repeatedly until they sound like truth. It tells you that you are not qualified, not strong enough, not worthy of success. It exaggerates your weaknesses and shrinks your strengths. It makes challenges look impossible and opportunities look dangerous. It magnifies every risk and minimizes every reward. And when fear becomes the loudest voice in your mind, abundance cannot settle, because abundance requires openness, faith, movement, and expectation. Fear does not always shout. Sometimes it hides quietly in the corners of your thoughts. It shows up as hesitation, procrastination, overthinking, doubt, indecision, or a constant need for reassurance before taking even the smallest step. It appears as anxiety when you think about change, as stress when you consider growth, as discomfort when you imagine success. It clings to your past failures and tries to convince you that the future holds the same. It uses every memory of disappointment as evidence that progress is dangerous. If you do not confront it, fear becomes a prison, one with invisible walls but very real restrictions. When fear controls you, you avoid the very actions that create wealth. You avoid new opportunities, avoid applying for better positions, avoid starting the business, avoid learning new skills, avoid networking with people who could elevate your life. Avoid taking the calculated risks that lead to increase. Fear tricks your mind into believing that staying where you are is safer than growing, safer than trying, safer than stepping into something bigger. But safety is not the same as success. Comfort is not the same as calling. Familiarity is not the same as destiny. Fear disguises stagnation as protection. Removing fear is not about pretending it doesn't exist. It's about confronting it, examining it, and stripping it of the authority you once gave it. You begin by recognizing that fear is often rooted in illusion. Most fears are built on what might happen, not what will happen. The mind creates worst case scenarios and then treats them as certainties. This is why fear is such a thief. It steals your present peace and your future abundance by trapping your imagination in outcomes that were never destined for you. To remove fear, you must first challenge the thoughts it plants. Every fearful thought must be questioned. Is this true? Is this rational? Is this aligned with my purpose or with my trauma? When you interrogate fear, you weaken it. It loses its authority when exposed to truth. Fear thrives in darkness, but clarity weakens it. When you replace fearful thoughts with faith-filled expectations, you begin to shift your spiritual and emotional atmosphere. Fear also dissolves when you take action, even small action. Every courageous step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that fear does not control you. Action breaks the illusion of fear. When you do what fear told you was impossible, your confidence grows. You start to trust your abilities. You start to trust the process. You start to trust that provision will meet you along the way. Wealth flows to those who move, not those who freeze. Progress attracts abundance. Momentum creates opportunities. Courage creates breakthroughs. There is also a deeper spiritual dimension. Fear often comes from believing you are alone, unsupported, unprotected. But when you recognize that you are divinely guided, fear loses its grip. You understand that the same power that gave you the dream will give you the strength, wisdom, and favor to fulfill it. When you trust that you are supported, equipped, and covered, fear begins to fade, and confidence rises from within like a quiet, steady fire. As you remove fear, space opens for creativity, new ideas, new solutions, new strategies. When fear no longer blocks your vision, you begin to see opportunities that were always present but previously hidden behind anxiety. You notice open doors, divine connections, unexpected resources. Fear blinds, but faith reveals. When fear is removed, the mind expands, the heart strengthens, and the spirit aligns with abundance. A poverty mindset blocks divine provision. This mindset is not simply about lacking money. It is a deep-rooted belief that convinces you that you are destined to live small, receive little, expect less, and settle for whatever life hands you. It creates an inner ceiling that stops you from rising, even when opportunities surround you. A poverty mindset is subtle. It hides in thoughts like, "This is too much for me. People like me don't become successful. I should just be grateful for what I have." Or wealth is for others, not for me. These thoughts become invisible chains that tie your potential to past experiences, cultural conditioning, and internal fears. And unless you break those chains, abundance will struggle to enter your life. A poverty mindset shrinks vision. Instead of dreaming boldly, you dream safely. You only imagine what you think is realistically possible, not what is divinely available. You plan according to your limitations rather than your possibilities. You stop yourself from trying something greater because something inside you whispers that you might fail, or that you are not worthy of more. This internal shrinking prevents you from stepping into the wider realm of provision that is meant for you. Divine provision often comes in ways that require faith, courage, and a willingness to reach beyond what feels comfortable. This mindset also affects how you handle opportunities. When a poverty mindset is active, even when doors open, you hesitate. Even when resources appear, you doubt. Even when people want to help you, you question their intentions or feel undeserving of support. You sabotage your own progress without realizing it. You talk yourself out of applying for positions, out of starting businesses, out of taking investments, out of pursuing expansion. You tell yourself that big blessings are too difficult, too risky, too unrealistic. And as long as you negotiate yourself downward, abundance stays distant. A poverty mindset is often inherited emotionally or culturally. Many people grew up with messages like money is hard to earn, rich people are greedy, don't expect too much, or life is about survival. These beliefs sink deeply into the subconscious and operate like programmed instructions. They shape how you think, how you react, how you make decisions. They shape your daily habits and financial choices. You might save too fearfully, spend impulsively, avoid planning, avoid investing, or mistrust opportunities that could elevate your life. The result is stagnation, a repeating cycle of just getting by, never advancing, never breaking through. Another dangerous effect of a poverty mindset is emotional resistance to abundance. Many people say they want more wealth, but internally they feel uncomfortable with the idea of being prosperous. They fear judgment, responsibility, change, or the possibility of outgrowing relationships. Some fear success more than failure, and because the mind always gravitates toward what feels emotionally comfortable, it will pull you back toward familiar smallness, even if a greater life is waiting. To remove a poverty mindset, you must begin by changing the beliefs that govern your thoughts. You must challenge every assumption that says you cannot rise higher. You must replace limiting ideas with empowering truths. This requires conscious, consistent reprogramming. You begin to affirm possibilities rather than impossibilities. Instead of saying, "I can't afford this," you say, "How can I generate the resources for this?" Instead of saying, "This is too big for me," you say, "I am expanding into my new season." Instead of seeing obstacles, you train yourself to see strategies. The mind is powerful. What you expect, you attract. What you believe, you gravitate toward. What you hold in your imagination becomes a magnet for your experiences. When you expect scarcity, you subconsciously create conditions that keep you in lack, missed opportunities, small decisions, fear-based habits. But when you expect abundance, you make choices that align with growth, taking initiative, learning, preparing, planning, acting with confidence. Removing the poverty mind set also requires expanding your vision. You must allow yourself to dream bigger, think differently, and imagine a life beyond your current limitations. You must expose yourself to new environments, new ideas, new role models, new perspectives. You must feed your mind with messages that elevate your thinking. A small vision cannot hold big blessings. If you want divine provision, your inner container must be enlarged. When you release the poverty mindset, something shifts spiritually. You no longer approach life with fear, shame, or inferiority. You approach it with expectation, confidence, and readiness. You begin to see provision not as something rare or accidental, but as something aligned with your purpose. You no longer feel like you are chasing blessings. Instead, blessings begin to locate you because your mindset no longer blocks them. Faith-filled declarations unlock supernatural supply. Words carry power, and not just emotional or psychological power, but spiritual force. Every time you speak, you are either opening a door or closing one, inviting abundance or pushing it away, aligning with faith or reinforcing fear. Declarations are not ordinary sentences. They are intentional statements that shape your inner world and influence your external reality. When you speak with faith, you are activating a spiritual law that draws provision, opportunity, and breakthrough toward you. When you declare boldly, consistently, and with conviction, you shift the atmosphere around you and the atmosphere within you. It is through declaration that you align your thoughts, emotions, and expectations with what you believe is possible. Faith-filled declarations do not ignore reality. They speak a higher truth over reality. You may see lack in your finances, but your declaration affirms that provision is on the way. You may see obstacles in your path, but your declaration announces that you will overcome. You may feel unqualified, but your declaration insists that you are equipped, favored, and empowered. This kind of speech is not delusion, it is alignment. It is choosing to agree not with your fears or your circumstances, but with your potential and your purpose. When your words agree with your destiny, your life begins to move in the direction of those words. The human mind responds deeply to the words you speak. When you declare something repeatedly, your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. The mind then adjusts your decisions, habits, and behaviors to match that new internal belief. If you speak lack, your mind reinforces lack. If you speak fear, your thoughts magnify fear. But if you speak abundance, confidence, and possibility, your mind begins to expect them. Expectation is powerful because what you expect, you prepare for, and what you prepare for, you attract. Faith-filled declarations also dismantle the internal barriers that prevent wealth from flowing into your life. Many people carry hidden beliefs that they are unworthy, incapable, unlucky, or destined for struggle. These beliefs form spiritual and psychological blockages. Declaring truth with faith weakens those blockages. Every declaration becomes a chisel breaking down the walls of doubt. Every positive statement becomes a seed planted in the soil of your mind. Over time, as these seeds grow, they overpower the thorns of negativity, uproot the weeds of fear, and produce a harvest of confidence and clarity. Declarations are not meant to be spoken once. They work through consistency. It is the daily repetition that transforms your mindset. When you wake up each morning and declare that abundance follows you, that opportunities are seeking you, that doors are opening for you, something shifts in your energy. You start the day with alignment instead of anxiety. You begin to carry yourself differently, with boldness, with purpose, with expectation. People feel this energy. Environments respond to this confidence. Opportunities gravitate toward it. There is also a spiritual resonance in faith-filled declarations. Every word spoken with belief carries vibration. Words can lift the spirit, strengthen the heart, and ignite the soul. When you speak life, you breathe power into your own atmosphere. When you declare increase, you call forth what is already waiting in the spiritual realm. When you declare favor, you position yourself to recognize and receive divine assistance. Declarations create spiritual momentum. They send out a signal that you are ready to receive more, that you are standing in faith, that you are aligned with your higher purpose. When you make these declarations, you are also training yourself to look for opportunities. The human mind filters information based on what it thinks matters. If you constantly speak lack, your mind only notices limitations. But if you declare abundance, your mind becomes sensitive to possibilities. It begins to recognize open doors, solutions, creative ideas, and connections that were previously invisible. Faith-filled declarations tune your perception so that you can see the paths that lead to increase. Declarations also help you persevere through difficulty. When challenges come, the natural response is fear or discouragement. But when you have trained yourself to speak faith, your first reaction becomes strength. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," you say, "I will find a way." Instead of "I'm overwhelmed," you declare, "I am equipped." Instead of "everything is against me," you speak, "Everything is aligning for me." These declarations shift your emotional state, giving you resilience and clarity in moments when others would crumble. As faith rises through your declarations, your actions begin to reflect that faith. You take steps you previously avoided. You speak to people you once felt intimidated by. You pursue opportunities that once felt out of reach. Your voice has shifted your mindset, and your mindset has shifted your behavior. It is this alignment, thoughts, words, and actions that unlocks supernatural supply. When your inner world is unified with your external pursuits, wealth flows more freely. You are no longer fighting yourself internally. You are moving in harmony with your purpose, and in that harmony, provision flows naturally. Obedience prepares the heart for increase. Obedience is not merely about following instructions or fulfilling obligations. It is a posture of alignment, a condition of the heart that says, "I am ready for what is coming." Many people desire abundance, but their hearts are not positioned to carry it. They want breakthrough, but they resist the inner adjustments required to sustain it. Obedience is the process of adjusting, aligning, preparing, and positioning yourself so that when increase arrives, it does not overwhelm you, escape you, or destroy you. Instead, it roots itself in your life and grows. Obedience begins with listening to the inner wisdom, spiritual prompting, or divine direction that nudges you toward change. Sometimes the instruction is small. Let go of that negative habit, leave that toxic environment, forgive that person who hurt you, start that new project, invest in learning something new. Other times the instruction is larger, shift your career, step out of your comfort zone, move into a different season of life. These instructions prepare you internally for expansion. They clear out the clutter that would choke your blessings. They strengthen your character so that when increase comes, you do not crumble under the weight of responsibility. A heart that resists obedience is often a heart that fears change. Obedience requires trust. It requires believing that the path you're being led toward is better than the one you're leaving behind. This is why many people stay stuck, not because abundance isn't available, but because they resist the instructions that lead them into it. Disobedience often looks harmless: procrastination, hesitation, compromise, partial effort. But each act of disobedience delays the fulfillment of what is meant for you, not as a punishment, but as a natural result of being out of alignment with the flow of increase. Obedience also demands humility. It means acknowledging that your own wisdom is limited, that you don't always know the best way forward, and that guidance exists to elevate you, not confine you. Humility opens the heart to learning, correction, and growth. A proud heart cannot receive increase because it refuses to be shaped. But an obedient heart, one willing to learn, adjust, and surrender pride, becomes a vessel that can hold greater blessings without being shattered. Obedience prepares the mind as well. When you obey small instructions, you are training your mind to act without resistance. You are building discipline, which is essential for managing wealth. Many people receive blessings but lose them quickly because their habits were never aligned for increase. They lack the discipline to save, to invest, to manage time, to stay focused, to stay consistent. Obedience develops these qualities over time. It builds a foundation that wealth can rest on securely. Obedience is also a test of readiness. Increase only comes to those who can be trusted with it. If you cannot obey in the small things, managing what you have, honoring your commitments, taking consistent action, how will you manage bigger opportunities when they come? Every small act of obedience is a demonstration of responsibility. It proves that you are maturing, that you can handle more, that you are growing in capacity. Increase follows capacity. When your capacity grows through obedience, abundance naturally flows toward you. There is also a cleansing quality in obedience. It removes distractions and temptations that would sabotage your future. Sometimes the instruction you receive is meant to break unhealthy patterns, cycles of overspending, cycles of self-sabotage, cycles of doubt, cycles of procrastination. When you obey the prompting to stop certain behaviors, you are clearing space for better habits that align with the life you are building. You are choosing clarity over confusion, discipline over disorder, growth over stagnation. Obedience cultivates peace. When you know you are aligned, when you know you are on the right path, your heart settles, anxiety fades, doubt loosens its grip. You experience a quiet strength that says, I am where I need to be. That peace becomes fertile soil for creativity, ideas, boldness, and divine inspiration. Increase often flows into environments of peace because peace sharpens your focus, stabilizes your emotions, and opens your mind to new possibilities. Through obedience, you develop resilience. The path of increase is not always smooth. There are delays, challenges, and moments when the next step is unclear. But obedience trains you to move even when conditions aren't perfect, to trust even when the outcome is uncertain, to progress even when you feel inadequate. This resilience becomes a spiritual anchor. It keeps you steady as you rise, grounded as you expand, humble as you succeed. Finally, obedience positions you for divine timing. Sometimes the only difference between stagnation and breakthrough is timing. When your heart is aligned through obedience, you step into the right moments. You meet the right people at the right time. You discover the right opportunities just when you are prepared for them. You don't force blessings, you flow into them. This alignment happens not by chance, but by the condition of your heart, a heart that listens, responds, and remains positioned for increase. When vision begins to rise within a person, something in the spiritual atmosphere shifts. Vision is not just imagination or wishful thinking. It is the inward picture God plants in the heart that becomes the blueprint for what your life can become. Without vision, the heart drifts, energy weakens, and faith becomes unfocused. But when a clear, God-centered vision takes hold, it forms a pathway that directs thoughts, shapes expectations, and attracts provision aligned with that vision. Vision becomes the engine of progress. It gathers the scattered pieces of a person's inner world and aligns them toward purpose. This inner alignment becomes a magnet for progress because the heart and mind begin to agree with what God desires to produce through a person. Vision awakens dormant desire. Many people live with silent frustrations because they see what they lack, but they do not see what they can become. Vision lifts the eyes from limitation to possibility. It births a holy dissatisfaction that pushes a person to rise beyond their current level. Vision whispers to the heart, "There is more for you." When that whisper becomes a conviction, it breaks cycles of stagnation. The individual begins to think differently, pray differently, walk differently. They start taking steps that once felt impossible. That is how vision creates momentum. It prepares the inner man to receive what God is ready to release. Vision also brings clarity. A person without vision tends to chase many things but captures nothing. Their energy scatters in all directions. But when one clear picture grips the soul, distractions lose their power. Destructive habits fall away because the individual now sees where they are going and recognizes what does not belong in their future. Vision becomes a filter that separates the meaningful from the meaningless. It determines what to say yes to and what to refuse. And as clarity grows, decisions become easier and the path becomes straighter. Wealth flows more freely into a life that is aligned, disciplined, and purpose-driven because such a life can manage increase. Vision feeds faith. When a person can picture the outcome in their spirit, faith has something to hold on to. Faith is not a blind leap. It is the assurance of things hoped for. Vision creates the hope that faith needs. When the inner picture is strong, faith rises to match it. A person begins to speak, pray, and act as though the vision is already unfolding. That internal faith posture has power because it shapes the atmosphere around them. What they believe becomes what they pursue, and what they pursue draws the resources required for manifestation. This is why individuals with strong vision often experience breakthroughs others only dream about. Their faith pulls the unseen into reality. Vision also attracts the right relationships. When someone carries a clear sense of direction, people can sense it. Helpers, mentors, and partners are drawn to individuals who know where they are going. Vision creates favor because people trust a person who walks with conviction. Those who carry vision speak with authority, decide with confidence, and move with intentionality. This internal posture signals to others that investment, cooperation, and partnership will not be wasted. Wealth often flows through relationships, and relationships flourish when vision is present. Vision strengthens perseverance. Trials come to everyone, but people without vision often give up because they cannot see beyond the difficulty. Vision, however, gives the soul a destination strong enough to endure temporary resistance. When a person knows where they are going, obstacles become stepping stones. Challenges refine instead of destroying. Vision empowers endurance by reminding the heart that present struggle is shaping future reward. This endurance becomes a distinguishing factor because many quit too soon, not realizing how close they were to breakthrough. Vision keeps them moving when others stop. Vision prepares the mind to receive abundance. A person with a small vision cannot handle large blessing. Increase requires preparation of thought, emotion, discipline, and expectation. Vision stretches capacity. It enlarges thinking. It expands a person's inner container so that when wealth arrives, it does not overwhelm or destroy them. Vision teaches stewardship long before increase manifests. It trains the heart to value opportunities, manage resources wisely, and recognize what is divine timing versus mere distraction. Such preparation ensures that wealth, once it arrives, becomes a tool for purpose rather than a burden. Vision builds alignment with divine purpose. When the inner picture matches what God desires, the flow of provision becomes more natural. God funds his plans. He supplies what is required for the mission he has placed in the heart. When vision aligns with purpose, provision follows vision. This alignment sets a life on a course where doors open, ideas multiply, strategies appear, and the impossible begins to bow. The pathway to unstoppable wealth is not created by chance, but by the internal picture that governs a person's decisions, expectations, and faith.